This is the Power Producers Podcast, where we are refining and redefining the sales game.
Rule number one is you have to believe in yourself. You're the only one who doesn't think you belong in this appointment. The prospect has already validated your existence by scheduling time with you. Get it through your head you belong here, go in there, crush it, and close the deal.
A place where sales professionals can come to learn from other sales professionals and thought leaders that have mastered their craft.
The difference between a good salesperson and a best-in-class salesperson is only 2 minutes. By spending an extra 2 minutes on what you might think is a mundane task in the sales game, you separate yourselves from the pack, you grow your book of business, you close more deals, and you retain your accounts.
As well as their peers who are still striving for perfection to achieve their why.
I have a wife and 4 kids. Failure is not an option.
Real sales professionals, real stories, real results.
It's no different than being a professional baseball player. You can't be a one-trick pony. You have to be a 5-tool player in order to succeed in this game.
This is the Power Producers Podcast, production redefined. Are you ready to feel the power?
Hey everybody, welcome to the Power Producers Podcast, where we are refining and redefining the sales game. Today we have from the Buckeye State,
let's go.
Ms. Ashley Fitzsimmons. How are you today?
I am fantastic. Super excited to be here with you guys.
Well, that's what happens when you ask if you can get a cartoon. We turn you into one. So that was a fortuitous thing that you did there. Why don't you? So I know that we're going to get to the question on why you're the Beyonce of insurance. So I would never open up with the thunder. It would just be all downhill from there. Why don't you let everybody know a little bit about who you are and your background and kind of what you're doing now, and then we'll wrap for a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So basically where I started out, first 10 years of my life, I was in a family insurance agency back in northeastern Pennsylvania near Scranton, for any of you Office fans out there. That
Awesome.
place does exist, and it's portrayed exactly how it is on television. So
Did
That makes
you
me
live
so
on
happy.
Yeah, did you live on a beet farm?
I did not. And I do love beets, though, which is really random. I have some
They're
in my
not,
fridge
they're
right
actually
now.
not bad. Like I enjoy them in my Greek salad from
Right?
the Hungry Greek. It's fantastic.
Yeah. We actually have beets in our refrigerator right now that are vacuum sealed that you buy. They're already peeled and everything because apparently we can't peel our own beets.
Peeling beets is pretty easy.
Thank you.
But like
Thank you
pickling
for
them
making
and
my
making
day.
them good is hard. So like just buy them. It's easier.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure that it is, and it's really not something in my vernacular anyhow. So we're not really that worried
I
about it.
do have a Dwight Schrute Beet Farm shirt that I got from Target for about $15. It's actually super comfortable.
And I actually may have been in the car with a gentleman who drove to Scranton, Pennsylvania from a city in West Virginia I will not identify to obtain a false driver's license at one point. I have no culpability in it, but yeah, it was just a weird thing, and I was in Scranton and didn't know why. So
That is so random.
It is.
well, it is. It's one of those things that when you're younger in life and somebody comes by and you're in Morgantown, West Virginia, and like, hey, man, let's go to Scranton for the day. I'm like, I'm in. I didn't even know what's there. Let's go check it out. So we did.
It's awesome.
But it's funny because when the office pans in and they give you that landscape shot of what it looks like, it's obviously Scranton in the office's pictures, but it's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a great show. And I was definitely going to make a joke about that being my family's side business with the credit cards or the IDs. But I thought maybe since we're being recorded, I won't throw those out there. You'll learn very quickly. I don't have a filter, so you might have to.
That's all right. Neither do we. And the statute of limitations is up on that deal anyhow. So
Perfect.
look, if I said I didn't do stupid things when I was younger, which by the way, I don't even know why I'm making excuses. It wasn't me. I didn't do it. I just was in the car.
I do stupid things now.
Yeah, I know.
Anyways, sorry.
So talk a little bit. So you're in Columbus now. We got sidetracked on Scranton. So catch us up. Sorry.
Yeah, so in Columbus now, made a little bit of a career change. In being in the office, I absolutely loved what I was doing. The family business is still going. Just needed to take a little detour because I realized as much as I loved helping my clients on a daily basis, that there was such a need out there to help independent agents. I mean, it's so important. I always like to point this out no matter who I'm talking to. You know, we have this little bubble that we live in with these podcasts and these conferences that we go to, and they're awesome. We meet some amazing people there. But outside of that bubble of those agents that are doing these incredible things, there is still like 80% of agents out there, 80% of our constituency here in Ohio that don't do those things or don't know about these people and all these great resources available. And you sit there and you wonder, man, how can I make my voice be heard so these people can thrive and grow even better? And I mean, I just realized that I wanted to take a little break and come out here and see what I can do to help even more agents just, you know, not get eaten up by the big guys, essentially. But yeah, I mean, it's like this bubble is great that we live in. And like I said, there's so many people doing some amazing things. You've got Seth Zaremba out there who's on a level that I'll never be on in my lifetime. But then you've got the other agent out there that still doesn't have an agency management system. And I want to help those guys.
I honestly think that Seth Zaremba may quite possibly be an alien.
He's got to be something. You know, I just want, like, if I could have like 10% of his brain power, that it's like that movie Limitless. Like, you can't access all your brain. He accesses the whole thing. And I'm still at like 5%.
Yeah, Seth's an interesting dude and a friend. I try not to talk to him about technical things too much because otherwise I'm just way outmatched in that conversation. It's funny. I actually recorded a podcast for them yesterday with Sid. She had asked me to come and talk to them for a little bit. So I feel like through osmosis over the interweb, I got a little bit smarter just from vicariously being exposed to Seth through Sid.
Exactly. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So what specifically is it that you're doing in your role right now? I mean, obviously you're an advocate for the independent agent. What's a day in the life look like?
So right now we did a little bit of transitioning back in March when COVID hit. You know, our education department, we had some people moving around within our organization, and I actually started taking over education and leading that section. So once I get that back under control with all of the changes with virtual classes and scheduling for next year, because we have no idea what's going to happen, I'm going to kind of go back a little bit more into my role of the biggest thing I was doing here that I absolutely love is it's called IA Circle, where we started a group with future leaders or brand new agency leaders that still have 20 years or more left in the industry. And we've created like little mastermind programs for them, essentially, where it's super, you know, confidential and small little groups that can get together. They have people that they can talk to. You know, everyone signs NDAs. There's no competition. And that's the thing is I'm amazed at how many people don't necessarily worry about the NDAs, because that's when you know that you've got a good agent who wants to do the right thing for their clients and they're not keeping everything super secretive. If I can't help a client, I'm going to pass that off to another agent that can. And that's what I love about the groups that I've already created, is that everyone is so open to sharing and saying, listen, this is what's going wrong in my agency. What did you guys do? How can we fix this? And nobody's sneaky or conniving or trying to steal anybody else's business. And that's what I love about this industry, is that so many people are there to help one another. You just need to be open to asking for help and to getting help, and also to be able to give other people help as much as you're getting from them.
Well, there's so much business out there to be had for everybody. There's no need to be, you know, sneaky and kind of, you know, sly with things, in my opinion. I don't know if you'd agree, David, but it's what I've seen.
No, I mean, it's funny because agents are weird to a certain degree. I'm one of those people that I would be open and collaborate with about anybody unless they were just a jerk, in which case that I wouldn't be interested in helping them. But, you know, it's one of the reasons why when we launched Killing Commercial, we gave an 1.5 hour radius of exclusivity for any of the agents that came into that program, because, you know, I understand that in order for us to build that the way that we wanted to build it and have the social component of it be so huge, which I don't know how much you know about any of that, Ashley, but we actually have a commercial insurance training program, and we build a full-blown social network for the members of our community. So you log in, there's a news feed and a, you know, timeline and all of that stuff, just like there's in Facebook, but it's agents, you know, going back and forth, sharing ideas, offering advice, whatever else. You can't have collaboration and competition simultaneously exist. So there has to be either a understood respective boundaries there that is insinuated, or it has to be formalized. And in our case, we formalized it because it made sense. And the agencies that are in our program are paying a chunk of change to get in. So I want to make sure that they have a leg up on the people that are in that area. Once you take an agency principal or a producer for that matter, and you put them into an environment where they feel safe, that they don't have to worry about what they're sharing is going to come back against them or be used to take an account from them or whatever else, they're the most giving people in the world as far as that goes, right? I mean, people are willing to pick up somebody else's back. The referrals that fly back and forth just inside that group are fantastic, and it's pretty cool to check out. So I know the dynamic, and it's interesting to see how different people manage that issue.
Definitely. And not even just the referrals. Like something that I learned, in the first 10 years that I was there is there were very few agents that I didn't have a good relationship with, or at least like a good rapport with. And when I say very few, I can think of one. I'm not bitter about that at all. But if some, not at all.
No, Kyle said who was.
No, yeah. Great. You'd have to edit that out. I'll probably slip. But, if a client came to me and I looked at that, their deck page and saw, this is David's agency, and I have a good rapport with you, the first thing I was going to do before I even quoted it is I was calling you and saying, hey, so-and-so's quoting their policy, like maybe you want to reach out to them. And it's, if anything, even if you say like, no, go ahead, just take it, whatever, which hopefully you would at least look into it. If anything, it's going to open your eyes to like, hey, what am I doing wrong? Why are they searching their insurance? So even if you lose that piece of business, it's going to make you better in the long run. And then you're going to feel more comfortable that I'm not trying to pick off pieces of your business. So it's just, I don't understand. I understand why people hold things like, close to their chest with that old school mentality. I get it. But, the magic happens when you start working with one another. I mean, just go out your front door and look on the street both ways. Like there is so many things that need to be insured. There's, like you said, there's enough out there for everybody. So why are you nitpicking and fighting with everyone? Just work together.
Well, yeah. And, I've been doing this almost 20 years now. And over the course of my career, there's probably 5 or 6 producers that work at competing agencies that I've competed against the whole time that I've been in the industry that I know they do a good job. And even if I have the ability to get in front of their client, I just respectfully walk away from that business. There's plenty of other business that's out there. Why would I go in and disrupt a relationship when I know that there's probably nothing wrong? I do exactly what you said. I'll pick up the phone and say, hey, man, just wanted to let you know my appointment setter got me into your account. I'll go talk to them, but I'm letting you know that I'm going to talk to them, and I'm going to affirm the fact that they're in the right place, right? Now, that might be going above and beyond from what the average person would do, because I would go sit with somebody for 30 to 45 minutes knowing I was never going to get that business. But what I can tell you is that also came back. So that, when I've done that in that past, that same producer has had the same thing happen and basically has done exactly what I've done. And so that's pretty cool. What I also am going to say is, for the agents that are out there listening, if your clients leave you, it's never the insurance that they're leaving you for. It's never. You did something or didn't. Mm-hmm. And, my new thing that I've been on, and it'll be a theme for the foreseeable future, is that as agents, insurance is the common denominator. That's what all of us do. We're all licensed. We all work for licensed agencies. And that's the one thing everybody has in common. If you want to be successful, if you want to go out and be able to get after good, solid, and I'm speaking from the commercial viewpoint, specifically in the middle market, you got to make yourself uncommon in a common environment, right? And remove that common denominator. Get insurance out of the equation completely. What are the real root causes of problems? What's going on in the culture of companies? How can you leverage systems and technology inside your own operation to enhance the client experience, not replace it? I mean, I can go on and on with all of the one-off things that I would have to say about all of that. But at the end of the day, I think that a lot of times agents are so worried, when they lose a piece of business that they lost on price. I don't know that I've ever lost on price.
Not commercial middle market. I mean, if you're talking maybe personal line stuff, because I think that's just a different.
Personal lines to me is extremely commoditized. Right. But even then, to a certain degree, I mean, I'm dealing with this right now with a guy that I have a standing weekly call with that is in another part of the country. and he wanted advice on getting into commercial and doing this, doing that. And through the course of conversation, I found out he's losing like a ridiculous amount of personal lines accounts every single month. I'm like, dude, you need to stop the bleeding on your personal lines before you worry about expanding, because what you're telling me is you're basically giving up on the backbone of what's been the backbone of your business for its existence to go out and try and replace the revenue you're losing because you see a shiny object sitting out there. You need the cash flow from your personal lines operations to fund everything you're going to need to do the other things. So let's talk about what the issues are. Well, as we started, going deeper and deeper into what was happening, what I found is that in his part of the country, there are a lot of hailstorms. Because of the hailstorms, many of the insurance companies have changed the coverage for a roof to give. I don't want to botch this, but I probably will. But I want to say that they give depreciated value on a roof in his part of the country as opposed to replacement cost. But he has carriers that are still offering replacement cost, and they push all of their clients into replacement cost. So I said, why are they leaving you? He said, they're leaving me on price. I said, why are they leaving you on price? He said, because these other carriers have slid this endorsement in on, depreciated value on the roof. I said, well, what have you done to educate your client base to let them know about the difference? He said, what do you mean? I said, well, do you have an automation set up that's a video message from you attached to a blog post that talks about depreciated valuation on a roof and what that means and what the trade-off is in dollars and premium versus dollars of exposure if something were to happen, and blah, 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 blah. Do you have a call campaign where you're making sure that you're reaching? And we went down the road, and he said, well, we're too busy quoting. I said, why are you quoting? He goes, we're quoting and we're re-quoting. I'm like, listen, stop. Take a deep breath. We need to look at this from a 10,000-foot overview. But basically, it all boiled down to the fact they're losing personalized business, not because of necessarily it's not because they're doing a bad job. What they're doing a bad job at is educating their clients on why they're doing a good job. And I think that that's one gap that I see a lot. So many times in our world, the agency will go into a renewal and they'll have a stewardship report that says, here's everything we've done for you over the last year. I hate that concept. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. It's like, let me tell you why you should let me renew your policies again. We don't do that. If you're not engaging with your clients in real time and you have benchmarked, number one, huge gap, because agencies and producers typically don't go in and set quantifiable benchmarks and metrics that they can measure their own performance by and subsequently the performance of their client. So because in our world, we're typically going in and visiting the sick. They've got problems, so we need to document that anyhow. But if you're not setting metrics or benchmarks to measure and then report back in real time, how do you expect your clients to know that you're doing a good job for them? There's no way they could possibly know that.
Right.
And so that's where I think that there's a big gap, is we don't do what we need to do from that angle.
Don't stop. I'm taking notes. Keep going.
I'm going to let Kyle talk for a second.
Let me talk. That's a huge mistake. I just throw in quips every once in a while. That's all I do. Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, I love everything that he just said, and it goes back to something that I emphasize all the time to agents. Because again, I'll touch on, people that are in our bubble that are listening to this. What I'm going to say next is going to be very basic, but then, the majority of people out there that still are open to learning and growing, I always say, don't overcomplicate things. When you go to a conference, you listen to a podcast, people are talking about, drones and AI and drip campaigns. And yeah, that's all important stuff. And it's all stuff that's absolutely doable if you have the time and the money and the capacity to invest in those things. And it's stuff that should be on your radar. But if you don't have that, or you don't have the basic things yet, just start somewhere. That's the worst part, is people get so consumed with what they see online and what they read and what other agents doing that they get frozen and they don't know what to do. And they think, oh man, if I can't get this new piece of technology, then I'm just going to fail and I'm not going to do anything. No, right. If you have to, with the roof replacement cost thing, send out a memo. I know it's old school. I know it's mail. But if people aren't using, email or texting or whatever in your agency, and that's not your clientele, then the memo is going to work. That's going to get their attention and educate them on what they're missing or what they could potentially be missing out on. Or if you're getting that cancellation coming across your desk, are you calling them or sending them something with a follow-up saying, hey, here's what you're missing out on. We're never going to pressure you into staying with us. Just remember us, in the future, if you're not happy, you can always come back. Like, the door is always open. Don't burn your bridges. Yeah, you lost business, but they might come back to you. You don't know. So don't make them feel guilty. Don't make them feel bad. Just let them do their thing. And it wasn't the right fit at the time. And if they come back, great.
Right. I mean, it's like the shiny object syndrome that we've talked about a number of times. I mean, you see in all these different forums, this technology, that technology, and the next best thing. Well, that may not fit your agency based on how you're structured, where you're at in your journey. So you have to figure out, what works for you. If it's working for, David, it may not be working for Kyle, or Ashley, and that's just how it is. How do you, when you're talking with agency principals, how do you convey that to them? Is there like a specific example you can think of, or
Let me say something too. This is the one thing. No, there was a gentleman that was at the front door that apparently didn't realize I was busy. My apologies. Like my buddy Bernie Borges says, this is a quote that I live by every day. I have ever since I read his book. Imperfect action is always better than perfect inaction. It's never going to be right when you start, but you have to start, right? If you look at some of the video content that we've done. So, I mean, if I went way back, like if I went back 10, 15 years to some of the crap that I put on YouTube talking about risk management and this, that, and the other, and then compared it to some of the stuff that we do now, it's apples and Volvos. But I did it, and that's the whole thing. I didn't care. I didn't care what if people thought, oh, wow, look at this guy. He's on, oh, look at him. He's on YouTube. He's talking about insurance and risk management. Yeah, guess what? I'm also getting leads while you're making fun of me. So that's fine. I can't. Me not doing something to generate business doesn't put food on the table for my wife and 4 kids. So I'm going to do whatever I have to do to make it happen. And I think we get these mental blocks for whatever the reason is. And there's a lot of people, and the real weird phenomenon out of all of it, honestly, is the people who spent all the money on all these tools and then never use them. They throw so much money away because they got wooed into buying something at a conference or just got telemarketed to death, or they just can't say no when they're on a demo or whatever. And they get on these recurring monthly payments for these products that they never use.
Yeah, it's because the next best thing just came out. It's like the iPhone, dude. I just bought the 11 Pro Max S, whatever the hell it was, like 6 months ago. The 12 is already out. It's like, dude. It's
like me with exercise equipment and supplements. I mean, it's like we all do it. We all do it. Doesn't matter what area it's in. I should be an Olympic athlete at this point with all the stuff that I own. But there is a
100% chance. There is a 100% chance that we own every single beach body workout and anything you've ever seen on an infomercial. We have a Peloton. We have a Bowflex M5. We have the selectable dumbbell.
Bowflex is like from the early 90s, dude. What do you?
It's the trainer, man. It's the elliptical thing, not the actual.
Oh, like the elliptical slash, like
the big cat had a Bowflex in the garage when I was like 8 years old.
Yeah, we have literally all of that crap. And ask me and by the way, big fan of the BSN Mass Stack. Like, you give me some pre-workout nitric oxide in creatine, and I will take out an entire village. Like,
I used to drink Inno Explode in high school, and that stuff is no longer on the market because I'm pretty sure it made people's hearts explode.
I thought I was going to have a heart attack when I took it. I'm like, I said, what is this magic? But I feel like I'm dying.
Like, I would start getting all hot and like tingly. It was super weird.
I don't remember patches of like 30 minutes of my life from Inno Explode. And I'm also thoroughly convinced that I could have actually swallowed a ball of tinfoil and Inno Explode would have liquefied it into my stomach.
Yeah, for sure. That stuff was crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyhow, back to Kyle's question, Ashley. Sorry, I just wanted
I don't even remember what the question was.
But I could totally circle this back around to, there's no magic pill. Like, I'm hoping there's a magic pill someday so I can lose like 10 more pounds really fast. But like, there's no magic pill for insurance. And I think, the most important thing for agents to realize is that you can't run before you crawl. So you kind of have to do a crawl, walk, run set up in your agency. Don't try to jump straight ahead and go for the most expensive, shiny, bright new piece of technology when you don't even have a basic website or a good website for that matter. You need to start slow and move forward. And then the next thing is once you get past that crawling stage, now you're in the walking stage and you're going to upgrade your technology. Don't expect to just set it and forget it. In demos, I forget, somebody said this to me one time, I've never seen a demo I didn't like, which is absolutely true. They always look super fantastic and super easy to use when you're watching them. But the truth of it is, once you get down to it, some of them take more work than others. So don't expect to just get this set up in your system and everything's going to run smoothly. It's not going to work unless you work it. So the most important thing is just you need to put the effort in. Don't spend the money until you're ready to do the work. If you're not ready to do the work, don't waste your time or money.
I'm not going to lie. When you said work it, I was really going to work on giving a Missy Elliott segue into the Beyonce of Insurance. So we're 25 in. It's time. Where did the Beyonce of Insurance come from? I got to hear the story. There's got to be a story.
I mean, I'm a very big personality, and I come from a very small town. Our town is a mile long. There's no stoplights. And I just felt like when I was on LinkedIn and, reaching out to agents and going to these conferences, producer and agent just wasn't cutting it for me. That didn't scream my personality right from the get-go. So I started thinking to myself, who is somebody that I kind of resonate with? Beyonce is someone that consistently is saying in interviews and things that she wants to promote women within her industry and with all industries. That she's a huge proponent of helping women get forward in their lives. She's a very strong, independent woman. She doesn't rely on anybody for anything. Now, granted, I'm sure she can rely on people now because she's made it that far and she can do whatever she wants. But, she worked hard to get where she is to build her kingdom of whatever she has. So I just thought, I want to be the Beyonce of insurance. I want to get out there and help other women thrive in this industry too. And that was a big thing when I came here as well. Along with these IA circle groups, I started women's groups as well. And they're not as intense as the futures groups that we have, but they're just a forum for women to get together and talk about not just insurance, but life. Life in general. How is their personal life overflowing into their work life and finding that balance or that integration between the two and realizing hey, you're not alone. We all go through this. And I mean, it's men too. They go through the same things, but it's just super comforting to know that there's other women out there going through the same exact stuff and trying to balance everything that you're doing. So I just thought, I'm going to be the Beyonce of insurance. I'm going to get out there. I'm going to help people. I'm going to help women. And one of the reasons that really resonated with me in the beginning is that the first conference I ever went to, I want to say I was 2 years into the agency. I really didn't know what associations did, what their purpose was other than getting a license, getting education. This thing came across my dad's desk for an executive management conference. I had no business being there. I was too young, but I said, Dad, I just want to go and see what it is. So I went. And I walked into this room. It was the opening keynote session. And I felt like the seventh grader walking into the seniors lunchroom when you have this huge backpack on and you look like a little nerdy person. And I walk in there and there's one table of women in the back corner. The rest are all men. No big deal. So I think, I'm going to go over to the women's table. When I tell you that every single one of them looked me up and down and then just kind of turned their heads, put them down and started whispering, I'm like, oh, this is how it's going to go.
Was my wife at that table?
But and I feel bad saying that because I have a really bad RBF. So I've been told, but I'm a very approachable person, but apparently my face doesn't scream approachable. So I'm trying to work on that. I think it's an actual medical condition. I'm convinced. But I wanted to change that. I mean, fortunately, I made other friends there and connections that, we've been friends ever since for the last 10 years, Jeff Teschke being one of them. That's where we first bonded over going to the University of Scranton together. I want to change that. There's no reason that women should put up a wall and be intimidated by a younger, newer version coming into the industry. We should be celebrating that and screaming from the rooftops hey, use your voice, go do what you want to do.
I think that there are a lot of things going on right now in the back channels of our industry that are a concerted effort to help propel women further forward than they ever have been before. And I'm a huge fan of that. If you were to ask me, I don't know, when I was a teenager, maybe what an insurance lady looked like, it's going to be the crusty lady that had the cigarette dangling out of her mouth with the long ash that was bouncing the whole time she was talking to you. Like, because you could smoke in the lobby of State Farm back then, and they actually had
until like the early 90s, I feel like.
Yeah, right. Well, I was a teenager in the early 90s, sir. I realized you were probably in your gestational period back then, but
whatever.
I was graduating high school in 1991, but I mean, I think that there's a lot of stuff. When we had Denise Bravo and Teresa Kitchens that have the Women of the Independent Agency Owners Alliance on, and the Power Women in Insurance podcast and all of that, I want to do whatever I can to help promote that. And I think, men are big dumb animals. Okay. I mean, let's just call it what it is. We're good at certain things, but not everything. And I think that that really, as far as advancement, regardless of what it is you're trying to advance, if you want a man to do it, you got to lay it out for the letter, right? You have to say that. And I think a lot of times some of our issues that are perceived to happen in our industry is because there hasn't been open dialogue about it. There hasn't been open dialogue. Discussions can't happen. It's not that men are necessarily, and I'm not speaking for everybody because there's people that ruin everything, but I don't think men by and large are chauvinist pigs and discriminatory. I just think they don't realize there's a problem, and their natural defense mechanism is, quit bitching about it. It'll fix itself or whatever else. It's not going to happen. But to that same point, I also don't think that it helps if women perceive that they think that men are discriminatory and not doing what they can to advance. And again, I say there are certainly cases where that may be accurate. However, until the two sides, for lack of a better term, but until we can table this stuff, talk through it and say, hey, look, like what caught my attention was I was in one of the insurance agents forums on Facebook or wherever, and there were screenshots of some extremely inappropriate texts that were going back and forth between a female agency principal and a client. And I'm sitting here thinking, holy crap, do you really have to deal with that? Is that really something that has to happen, that happens in your agency? Because it's not something that I see happen in mine. And I'm pretty in tune with what's going on here. And that spurred a whole dialogue. And I don't have to deal with that for a whole variety of reasons, I'm sure. But, it's crazy. Again, like anything else that's going on, look at all of the crap we're dealing with in our country right now. 100% of what we deal with every day. I would love to believe that nobody likes it, right? Regardless of what your political, religious, whatever leanings are, it's a stressful time to live in the United States. You don't know where you can go. You don't know what you can say. Nothing. You can say the most innocent thing and somebody can twist it and make it whatever they want it to be to come out of your mouth. And they don't know what your mind and your heart had behind the intent of those words. But 100% of that is because we have allowed problems to fester to the point that we're at right now instead of having what? Simple dialogue. That's it. And not just this. Again, it goes back to another one of my new favorite soapbox things is agency owners need to let go of control and start collaborating with the people that are in their agencies. So many times we make veiled attempts at collaboration or listening to the younger generation or whatever else, when the whole time it's pomp and circumstance, and in the older generation's minds, it's I'll hear what they have to say, but it's not going to work. Or instead of sincerely listening to someone else's perspective and point of view and realizing that, hey, they may be right. There may be something here. If we get behind this, maybe we can push it in that direction. or whatever else. And
how do you get past that mental block?
I just think that you need to try it.
Yeah.
Try something. Even if it fails miserably. And then if it does, you don't go back and say, I told you it wouldn't work. Mm-hmm. It's never worked that way in the insurance industry. Look at how many people have crazy innovations as agents that they've developed because they weren't afraid to take a chance and push the envelope and try and take something to the next level. And that's one of the things I was talking with Sid about yesterday when I was on her podcast. I just said, I think another issue is that agents look down in many cases on other agents that are innovators. They do. Seth Zaremba is one of the most intelligent people in our industry. Pretty sure not very many people look down on him, but there is a subset of people that say, must not have been able to sell insurance, so he had to go create this product, right? Because that's what they think.
And people are threatened by it. They look down on it. Take anything that you do in life, and this took me a long time to realize, but anytime I get upset or I'm very judgmental. I can't hide that one. But anytime I get really upset about something, I think, why is this affecting me so much? Why am I so upset about this when it's really not directly affecting my life at this moment? And typically that stems from either I'm threatened by it or I'm jealous by the fact that somebody is doing something. So if we really step back and take a look at those things, stop spinning your wheels complaining about it or saying, he must have not been able to sell insurance like you just said, and just realize he's doing something amazing. And if I don't have anything nice to say about it, then don't say anything at all. And I mean, golden rule of when you're young, you're hurting yourself by just wasting your time bitching about it, essentially. Just either get on board or go your own way and figure out what you're doing by yourself.
I have literally heard it come out of people's mouths. Oh, well, they're failed agents, so they had to go do this. Or they failed as an agent, so they had to go do that. No, actually, they were a reasonably good agent who identified a problem, and they had a great solution to it and chose to take action instead of just letting things continue to be the way they always were. If you can't respect somebody who's willing to step outside their comfort zone and do that, then, you're probably not going to be my friend.
Exactly. And comfort zone, going back to you, Kyle, you had said, how do you get past that mental block? I think for everyone that's listening that is in a, CSR or account manager role that's sitting there going, oh yeah, I've tried to give these ideas and my boss won't do it. The best thing I can say is, you need to over prepare. If you have an idea, even if it's the simplest idea, like you want to get, Calendly and you want to pay for that, like something super small, you need to type out a 1-page business plan and make it in black and white. This is why we need it. This is what will happen if we use it. Here's how long you'll take to estimated see results. And here's what it's going to cost us. And if I write 5 policies, I've already made our money back for the year. So you need to have it in black and white and have every answer that to any question you